Welcome to TGIF, and the word of the day is determined.
That is a powerful word. And I think we can all say we have spent a lot of our life being determined about something. Yeah. In a good way or a bad way. I'm determined to be right. Ooh. Or I'm determined to follow God all the days of my life, even when people irritate me. Powerful word.
Powerful words, and we've got a piece of scripture that's really powerful today. We are starting into Daniel, the book of Daniel. And one of the things I love about Daniel is just the way that you see the maturity of Daniel in really hard situations. I mean, some of them are major stressors. And I think when we reflect on our own lives, even things that we're really passionate about or determined about, when that kind of stress hits it, like we flip out, we go kind of crazy. And so we're going to start off slowly with Daniel because there's just so much good content here. So we are starting off with Daniel chapter 1, verse 8.
But Daniel was determined not to defile himself by eating the food and wine given to them by the king. He asked the chief of staff for permission not to eat these unacceptable foods.
Yeah, so where are we landing here? So we've got 7 verses before that tell us a lot because, first of all, I want you to try to imagine, and I know if you're not a young boy, you can't probably imagine, but imagine being a teenage boy, okay? And you're in the kingdom, in Jerusalem, right? And you are in pretty good circles. The line of Judah, and as far as all the leadership, you're getting able to learn from them. You're getting able to nurture from them. You're learning. You probably are starting to set some determined goals. If you're setting your sights on going, wow, I'm a teenager. Maybe I want to do what he's doing or what they're doing. And then to understand that a very determined foreign king, King Nebuchadnezzar, he comes in and he decimates Jerusalem. He destroys it. He's determined to destroy it. And so we have some interesting dynamics that are taking place here. First of all, a teenage boy. What would that do for a teenage boy's understanding of the world? He's going to be carted off to a foreign land, into a culture that is so different than the Hebrew or the Jewish or Israel upbringing of a young boy. And so everything's getting turned upside down. I think it'd be very easy to be very depressed. Think about it. When we are determined to get something done, when it doesn't go right, what happens? I mean,
we pull back. Some people just pull away from everything, want to give up on other things because to be so determined, it typically takes a whole lot of energy, not just physical, but mental energy. And you're exhausted when you have been so determined for something, and it could be good, we're hoping it's good, but it all falls apart.
Yeah, and I think for the teenagers that we see nowadays, I mean, there's a great depression. There's some that are falling apart. And I think if they would, understand Daniel, I think Daniel gives them a lot of encouragement, because when you think about what he's gone through, can you even imagine that life changing from, sitting in Jerusalem in just the royalty of it, but also now being transported to Babylon where the culture is all different. You got this king and you're supposed to answer to him because he was taken there because he was a part of the royal family. He was specifically picked and taken there because of that, because what Nebuchadnezzar's plan is to take some of those younger royal families and train them in the ways of Babylon, and in Babylon culture and literature. So they're going to come and they're going to be poured into with Babylonian culture and literature. And that's got to be kind of disheartening as well. So I think that what we see is, God at work in this book in so many different ways, but here is just the beginning of taking this young man and they're going to form him in a way that he's going to do some amazing things. But even in our lives, God is it's interesting because verse 2 tells us that God allowed King Nebuchadnezzar to win. I'm sure King Nebuchadnezzar said, "This is all mine. This is all me.
I did it in my strength and my power."
And how many times do we see that in the world?
Because sometimes the bad guy wins.
Yeah.
Because we don't know the bigger plan that God has, and we just have to trust it passed through his hand.
Yeah. So when we are so determined on something and it goes a different way, maybe it should be opening our eyes up to remember Daniel. Daniel went off to this foreign land, and now he's going to be trained in all these foreign ways and gods. But he still holds true to something that, and I believe that he heard Jeremiah, because remember, he was in that prophet era as far as a young boy, or maybe the stories were told to him about what Jeremiah had said. And so we want to listen to Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 4 through 7.
This is what the Lord of heaven's armies, the God of Israel, says to all the captives he has exiled to Babylon from Jerusalem. Build homes and plan to stay. Plant gardens and eat the food they produce. Marry and have children. Then find spouses for them so that you may have many grandchildren. Multiply. Do not dwindle away. And work for the peace and prosperity of the city where I sent you into exile. Pray to the Lord for it, and its welfare will determine your welfare.
Isn't that interesting? There's a lot of interesting dynamics in that piece, because it's not, God's not telling people, okay, you're going to go and you're going to be punished and you're going to be, it's going to be a terrible time for you. He's like, no, go build homes. He actually sounds like he's going, go and be an influence in that terrible place. How do we do that?
Right, because our circumstances aren't always in our control. And I mean, you think about just in family dynamics, when a family's uprooted because of dad's job, mom's job. We've experienced that with our kids, and to a child, to a young teenager, their world is over when you take them from their friends, you take them from the things that they know. And in this, and by the way, this is exile. We're not just going from one town to the next town. We're going to exile, but God still has a plan for us in that, and he still gives us direction and guidance of what to do while we're there.
Do not dwindle away.
Yeah.
And so I think that's interesting, because even as Daniel has to plead his case with this food issue, because King Nebuchadnezzar, he's going to take care of these young people that he's training up. He gives them, this food and a place to stay. But Daniel all of a sudden notices, some of this food isn't honoring of God, because remember, it's Old Testament. They've got food laws at that point. And so it was very specific what Jeremiah said. Go and plant your gardens. Eat the food they produce. Do not dwindle away. Because one of the things that is happening here is that the person overseeing these young men like Daniel, he's worried that if they don't eat the king's food, they'll look gaunt and deprived of food and look terrible, and that'll get him in trouble. And so he's like, but Daniel, very calmly, Daniel's like, give us a week, give us a trial period, give us a trial period for this, and just see how we look compared to the other people when we eat the way we want to eat and honor God. I think that's such a mature response in the middle of, like, he could have said, no, I don't want to do that. Definitely
exhibiting determination
and an honoring of God. And where do we see that today? I mean, so many people just get mad or angry, even in the church. I mean, I don't want to call anything out in the church, but even in the church, right? People get so mad. I'm like, that is not what Daniel teaches us. That's not what God is teaching us here. And even in the midst of a King Nebuchadnezzar in your life, what is that King Nebuchadnezzar in your life? How can you be determined to fulfill and uphold honoring God in everything you say? Because there's another thing here too to remember. They changed Daniel's name. How would you like your name changed? To something that maybe So if you have Daniel's name, God is my judge. I'm like thinking, okay, so that's honoring. He's like, okay, that just tells you how much he was focused on, okay, God is my judge, so everything I'm doing. But what Nebuchadnezzar wanted them to do is forget that Hebrew upbringing. Forget that name. Belteshazzar, I'm going to name you Belteshazzar. And that's what Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, right? They get new names.
Right.
But that one that Daniel got, it means Prince of Bel. And that's a Babylonian god with a little g. He's wanting him to be the prince of a Babylonian god in his mind, right? He wants to change his mind.
Right.
How many times does the world try to do that?
And that's where we're at, or where we live at today. And it's almost like you can't even tell. It's kind of like the AI world. You don't know what's real and you don't know what's AI. I mean, in this situation, they're trying to really persuade him to their ways instead of God's ways. And it's no different today.
And so in today's world, courage and conviction is what God is calling us to. Do we have the courage and conviction, like Daniel, to live out when we're placed in places that are complicated, really complicated? And we do that through scripture and through prayer. And then we stand in those places.
Which takes us to our question, how can we express strong convictions with humility and grace in our workplaces, schools, and communities? That's what we're called to do. That's who we're called to be. Reflect on that, and we'll catch you next time. To get ahead for next week, read Daniel chapter 2. See you next time on TGIF. Bye.